Hi guys, welcome
Hello.
to the last Evilathon reading sprint because November is coming to an end. As you can probably tell from the background, I'm not home. I'm at my parents', so I've invaded their living room, which normally they don't use much, to do the reading sprints tonight. And I am 2 days post surgery. I'm doing well, and I'm ready to read a little bit. I'm joined today by two lovely friends, Sharron and Olivia. And interestingly enough, I just saw them a week and a half ago, which is, I never get to say that. It's very interesting that I just saw you in real life. I did put in the,
IRL.
yeah, I did put in the description box both of these beautiful ladies' social media. So if you want to check them out, but I will let them introduce themselves and tell us also what they're going to be reading today. If you want to start, Olivia.
Yes, sure. I'm Olivia Savannah. I didn't put my channel name in the name bit, but it's Olivia's Catastrophe. And I read across all the genres pretty much and all the age audiences. But today I have horror because we're doing Evilathon. I'm a multi-reader, so I have 3 books for different sprints.
Cool. Okay.
So I'll be very quick. But the first one is Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix, which I'm reading at the moment, and I think Kash already shared a wonderful review.
Oh, thank you. I tried.
And then I'm also reading The Reformatory by
Such a good
Pamela
book. Oh, such a
I'm
good book.
loving it. Absolutely. And then lastly, to finish off, I have a vampire romantasy, and that is
Oh,
The Songbird in the Heart of Stone by Krista Borga.
oh, interesting.
That's me.
Okay, Sharon.
I'm Sharron. Sharron Joy reads everywhere. And I've got a bit of a weird voice because I came back from London with a cold because I've been around people and I'm not around people usually. So, yeah, apart from that, I am going to be reading two. I always read more than one as well, Olivia. So I like to have, and I've got actually a Kindle in every room and they've all got different books on. So on my Kindle for the last prompt of the Evilathon, because I've only got one left to do, is The Mother. I'm reading this Crotch Goblin,
Never heard of it.
which is it's an indie. The majority is I'm a big proponent of indie horror, and I've just started a convention this year for indie horror authors in the UK, moving around, called Van Haney, and it's basically about this woman, and she's a bit of a party girl. She ends up having a one night stand, ends up pregnant with a part demonic child that all the demons are trying to get, and a secret society is protecting her.
Interesting.
It's
Sounds like
it's
a
pretty
wild
it's pretty
ride.
good by so far. I'm also going to be reading the Next Point Horror one
Yeah.
for this week's for this week's Tales Point Horror Book Club with the lovely Shelley, The Invitation. So I never read these in the 90s because I was an adult in the 90s. That probably quite a lot older than both of you because I'm in my 50s. But so I'm enjoying kind of collecting them now as I'm a middle-aged person. So I don't know anything about it, but it looks quite good. So that's what I'm reading.
Yeah, I've been collecting them now as well, but also because I don't think it's just the age. Because when I was growing up here, I didn't have Goosebumps, I didn't have Point Horror. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think it was translated, or maybe it was not really widespread because I come from a small town in Spain. So I
Yeah.
didn't know anything about that. I knew the TV show Goosebumps, but I've never heard of the books. And I've only discovered them, thanks to, being a booktuber and watching booktube and watching people, and I'm like, oh, look at all these books and look at a point horror, what is this? And it's like, and I'm starting collecting them now myself, because also depending where you live, some people might not have had access to them, they might not have been translated, so
Yeah.
you're not alone, Sharon.
Yeah, I mean, I was an adult, so in the 90s. So,
Yeah.
but it's good fun, and I kind of like hunting them out. Do you know? Like,
Yes.
I go in all the secondhand bookshops, and I like kind of hunting them out. It's kind of fun for me, and they're good fun. They're all a bit. They have set tropes to them. There's always the
Yeah.
same things in them, pretty much.
Yeah.
but they're good fun and they're easy reads. They're only like 160 pages. You know, you can read them in an hour, just over an hour, can't you?
Yeah, I
So
mean, I love them, but sometimes it's like, oh, here we go again. Like it has the same tropes of like
yeah,
the toxic boyfriend, like all of these things are like, oh God, but it's
really
they're
rubbish
fun.
parents, really rubbish parents. And yeah, it's just, but yeah, this supposedly this is a good one. Shelley remembers this very fondly. So
Okay, I haven't read that one yet, but
neither have I. It's cost £2.50 when it came out in 1993.
wow, imagine that paying two
And I
pounds.
bought it for 30p.
Those were the days.
Yay.
So
Those were the days.
Mate. Yeah.
I'm reading one book that it's been a good comfort post surgery, and that is a third book in the Lockwood and Co series. This is The
All
Hollow
right.
Boy. Because I read the first two last year and I never continued, so I am pushing myself to finish before I forget everything. Because you know how series go. If you wait too long, you forget so many things, and you're like, "Wait, what was this? Who was this person?"
Is
Yeah.
that like the lock and key thing, darling, or is that a different thing?
No, this is Lockwood and Co. Lock and Key is the graphic novels by Joe Hill.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is it was pitched to me. I don't remember who recommended it to me, but I think a couple of people told me this is Harry Potter meets horror, and I was like, "Thank you, I'll take it." So it's basically London, and we live in a world where there are ghosts and paranormal entities, and only teenagers can see them. Adults can no longer see them, and because teenagers have more of an open mind, I guess, or more of a connection with the other world,
Yeah.
and so there are agencies of people like teenagers basically that are fighting against the ghosts that the adults cannot see, and it's really cool. I really enjoy it, and our main characters are three very different individuals that I think really merge really well together. And I love that it's not being told from the perspective of Lockwood himself, but Lucy, which is one of the girls that works for him. So I really enjoy it if you
Sounds fun.
like it. Yeah. And so far, there's not been really any romance. So for now, I can tell you it's safe. I haven't finished it yet, but for now, no romance.
I haven't read that particular book, but I read another fantasy series by him, which starts with the Amulet of Samarkand.
Yeah.
And that one didn't have any romance in it as well, and was
Yeah.
like a really fun fantasy book.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I need people to tell me that, and then I'll try it. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
if I suddenly come across romance, I'll get a bit nauseous.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
fair.
it's good to know.
But it's fun because every book is about a different hunting, there are different types of ghosts. Some are more dangerous than others. There's different tactics to kill them, different things that work, and they investigate maybe, who lived in that house before, why is it probably hunted by this person or that person. So it's kind of fun and a bit lighthearted in the horror because obviously it's for younger readers, but I'm having so much fun with this. And I think the whole series is complete. I think there's only 5 books, I think, if I'm not wrong. So this is book 3. And then I have this book that I need to finish before the end of the month, so I should probably start it. It's called Escape from Happy Dale by Jack Quaid. And this is my Patreon book of the month, so I definitely have to read it before the end of the month. All I know is that it's a slasher. It says
Marvelous.
the Stephen King meets Quentin Tarantino. So
That sounds fun.
yeah, I think it's about a final girl that survived a massacre, and maybe years later she comes across the same killer or something. I'm not sure. And I have the lovely bookmark that Sharron gave me. Yes. So
I've got mine. Is Freddie.
see, it's
Okay.
horror theme night. So for this one, I have to take notes. So it's going to take me a little bit longer to get through this. So I think I'm going to start with this one while I'm still awake.
Sounds
And
sensible.
if I get really tired, I can change to this because this is much easier. And I'm already like over halfway through. I'm like already here. So I think that's going to be my game plan tonight. Because I don't know how tired I'm going to get. So first, I'll try with the slasher.
Should be fun though if it's a slasher.
Yeah, I think so. And I think
Be
there is
quite fast
more.
paced.
This is the last Final Girl book 1, so I think there's going to be more than this one. So if I like it, I can pick up the next one. I really like the cover. I think it's really cute.
It is. It's good. It's kind of. It does have kind of. It looks old. It looks older
Yeah,
fashioned,
yeah,
doesn't
like
it?
vintage. Yeah, yeah.
It looks vintage. Yeah.
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 Cool. Let's see. Hi.
Hi, Lily.
She's reading The Wolf Gift by Anne Rice.
Oh, I love Anne Rice.
Have you read Anne Rice, Olivia? I'm curious.
I know I need to read.
I'm
I
curious.
need to read Interview with the Vampire, but I've just actually never come across it in a. I think that's one that I would want to get secondhand because it's been out for so long, and I've never actually come across it in a secondhand shop, which must mean
Wow.
it's too good to give away. Clearly,
No, people don't give it away, but it's so much better than the film, and I loved the film.
Mm.
okay.
Mhm.
When I get my hands on it, I'll be very, very happy. I'm a big vampire reader.
Oh, I love vampires too, to be honest, but not the sparkly ones.
I take
Right?
on the all.
Olivia likes Twilight.
I like the sparkly ones. I like my Dracula and Carmilla and everything in between.
One of my friends in Tales Point Horror, Karen, she's desperately trying to get me to read Twilight, and I think I'm past that. You know, I'm like, vampires shouldn't sparkle, Karen.
I don't think it's the sparkle. I think there's it's basically romance, and then in the second layer is vampires and werewolves. But like on the first layer is all about the
I want
romance.
to
I
see.
think that's why it's not for you.
I want to see vampires ripping throats out. I don't want to see them being nice.
These are veggie, yeah, they're veggies as well, like vegetarian.
See what I mean? What is that? How can you be a vegetarian and be a vampire? I mean that's kind of how. What? How'd you get blood out of a carrot? Crackers.
Have you seen, Sharron, or if you want to read a good graphic novel, the 30 Days of Night? It's really good.
I have
don't know if
trouble
you
with
know it.
graphic novels, Kasha,
Oh.
because when I read, I see a movie in my head.
Mhm.
And when I'm reading a graphic novel, it just confuses my brain because
Mhm.
that's not what I'm seeing when I'm reading it. So it just, I get, I get a bit weird about that, really. So
Okay, then the movie it is.
I do love them. I love to look at them. I love to look at the art. I think the art is
Yeah.
beautiful, but my brain gets a bit confused about it.
That's
I'm
fair.
sorry. It's my neurospiciness, that is.
Mm. What is a book about vampires that you would recommend?
Oh, well, I love Amy's books, Mina. I love the Mina books very much so.
Yeah, they're fun.
But there's a really good one just come out by an indie author called Marcus Hawke. I recommended Miracle Sin.
Yeah. Yeah, I read Miracle Sin this year because you recommended it.
I know. I saw your video.
Yeah.
And but our beta read, a proofread for Marcus, and he's got a new one coming out called You Can't Take It With You, which is like a twisted Christmas carol with vampires. It's brilliant.
That sounds good.
Very, very dark, very violent and gory.
Okay. I'll take it.
So that's the kind of vampire books I want, really. Do you know what I mean? Or the YA version. Or I love middle grade as well. And I really enjoyed Rules for Vampires by Alex Fawkes. And that's about a 111-year-old vampire and her best friend's a ghost. And so that was fun, So it's either really violent and bloody or cute.
Okay. What about you, Olivia? Would you say there's a one that is special in any way that you would recommend?
I do really recommend, like, when I think a good vampire novel to recommend that's not a vampire romance, I do go to Dracula just because I think a lot of people don't actually read it.
You can't beat it.
Classics, no. But it's really actually a good book, and it's like a slow, steady one, but it's good, and it gives you so much reference for all the other vampire novels. But for one that I read quite recently, it was called The Hunter's Gambit by Seal Perlow, which is out from Angry Robot Books, and it was very much it's not a romance, but it's like the seductive, bloodthirsty vampires. They kidnap this human and they're going to treat her like a vampire queen for 3 days, and then they're going to eat her and sacrifice her.
Sounds
So
wonderful.
you follow her perspective, and literally the plot is like she's trying to escape in this citadel full of vampires, and
Oh,
it's wonderful. It's fun. I wouldn't say it's the best thing I've ever read that as vampire, but it's like bloodthirsty, seductive vampire fun.
I
okay.
do love Carmilla by Sheridan Le Fanu, mainly because I love Gothic fiction. Edwardian and Victorian Gothic fiction is my favourite. But you can't beat Dracula. But I have to say, if I had to choose between Dracula or Frankenstein, I would choose Frankenstein because it's it's better written than Dracula.
It's more approachable
So
as well.
yeah, it's far more. It's just a better story. But I do love both of them. Yeah.
I do love them both as well. I don't think I could choose. I don't think.
If I had to choose, I wouldn't. I'd have both.
Yeah.
But if I had to choose, I would choose. And when I buy, and I was talking to Amy about this, whenever I buy a special edition of Dracula, I have to get the same special edition of Frankenstein. It's kind of like they have to be together. Do you know what I mean?
Brother and
Yeah.
sister.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. Yeah.
What would you recommend, Kasha?
I mean, my favorite classic is Dracula, but I think
Yeah.
it's also because the first horror movie I ever saw was Dracula by Coppola when I was like 9 or so.
Yeah.
And that was kickstarted my love for blood and vampires. So then I read the book when I got older, and I think that's why it's also special to me. And I also think, like Olivia said, it's very approachable when it comes to classics.
It is.
I think it is. And because it's mixed media in a way, so a lot of people I think find it easier to read than other classics that are a little bit heavier on the prose maybe.
Yeah.
And but there is another vampire book that really surprised me, and that is Let the Right One In. I'm not gonna try to pronounce the author's name because it's not gonna go well. But I love Let the Right One In. It's a chunky book, but it's such a different approach to vampires, and it was so good. So people that have not read it, I will encourage them to give it a chance, even though it's chunky. Because I don't know if you guys have read it, but it's really good.
Yeah. I like when the people take something and twist it. Do you know, and Dracula's a classic for a reason. Think how many books about vampires there are now. I mean, and Dracula comes directly from Carmilla, which was the first real vampiric kind of classic. And so, you know, there's a reason it's so long lasting. I can't wait for Nosferatu. I can't wait for your review because
I
you'll
was
see it before
excited
me.
because I was hoping it still was going to come in the Netherlands in December, but I checked and it's planned for 2nd or 5th of January. So that kind of kills me because I wanted to include it on my favorites of 2024, but it is what it is.
You can have. I mean, you're going to still see it before me because
Yeah.
I don't go to the cinema. You know, it's hard for me to get out, so I'll have to wait till it comes on where I can buy it on screen.
Yeah, but I'm excited.
Yeah,
But
me
if
too.
anybody, have you seen Abigail? If you're looking for a good vampire movie, that was so much fun. I think Olivia, maybe you've seen it because it's from the Ready or Not.
You know what? I haven't seen it, but it is on my list of things to watch because, as you said, Ready or Not, and then
Yeah.
that
So I
connection.
thought you would have maybe watched it because.
I haven't seen Ready or I don't watch a lot of telly, as you know. It's not a thing for me, but I haven't seen Ready or Not.
When you
It's
need a horror movie recommendation, you call me. I got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
I will, my darlings. I will.
Okay. So with that, we're gonna go to the first sprint. We're gonna do 3 sprints as usual: 40 minutes, 40 minutes, 30 minutes. And I do use the Pomodoro Kitty, so I apologize in advance for anybody that gets scared.
I'll take my headphones off. It doesn't scare me. 'Cause I have to get my headphones on. Otherwise the cats will go crazy.
And I might sneak off and have dinner as well at some point.
Oh,
No
yeah, I
worries.
haven't had dinner yet, to be fair.
I just had it right before so that I can just relax now and sit down. Okay, so we're gonna go to 40 minutes and I'll see you guys back here in 40. Good luck.
Happy reading.
Hello, welcome back. Hello, hello.
Oh,
Try to be gentle. Hello, back. Okay. How did that one go? I can hear you, Sharron.
I had to go and dash and clean up cat sick.
Oh no!
wow.
8 minutes to go, and I was like, "Oh, well done."
Perfect timing.
I got snacks though, so it wasn't a lost cause.
It's good. How did you do that? Did you get some reading done?
But halfway through,
Yeah, you're a very fast reader. She's the fastest
Very
reader I
fast.
know.
it's only 166 pages, and I'm on page 91.
Fantastic.
So it's good though. It's actually really good.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, it's very dark. I love it.
Okay. I don't think I have that one, so I'll have to hunt it down.
Yeah, Shelley says it's one of her favourites from when she was a kid.
Oh.
Do you know? So it's about this party, and this very rich girl in the town always invites all her friends to, and other people don't get invited. And these 5 friends who are, aren't her normal crowd get invited. And one of them's like always a bit suspicious, but they go anyway. And then they get led away and locked in rooms.
Oh.
And they've got the
Okay.
other people have got to hunt them out, but it looks like it's going to get a bit gory in a minute. They haven't been invited to a party; they've been invited to die. So
Fun times.
yeah, I don't know if they'll die though. I think it's more likely the rich kids will die because they're really angry. So we'll see.
Fun. How did you do, Olivia?
Good. I'm definitely getting there with Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. I read the first witchcrafty scene because it is a bit of a slow start. This one is coming out in January, and it's about these girls in the US who are sent to these homes to have their kids because they've become pregnant in like a wayward way. So they get sent away to have their kids, and they kind of come across a spell book and decide to try some of these spells. And I think the beginning of the book was very much like the horror of being a woman who's been sent to a home and not knowing anything about what you've presumably done wrong or what you're in for as a pregnant woman. And now it's like witchcraft time on top of that.
I love Grady as well. I love his books because every single one's completely different.
Yeah.
But he never writes the same thing twice, and some of them hit, some of them don't. But he always takes chances. He'll always try something new, and I like that.
And some are like more fun and lighthearted, and some are a bit more like on the serious tone.
Yeah.
This one I'll definitely say is on the more serious tone overall.
Yeah. I've got it on my TBR.
It's probably gonna. It's weird because it's like Can I put it on my favorites of 2024 because the book is not out, but I read it in 2024.
I'm personally counting what I've read in 2024 because I read Rivers Solomon's horror one for next year because I couldn't wait. So I'm just gonna count it.
Because it's like, I'm gonna be like, this is one of my favorite ones. It's not out yet, so. But
over half of mine are arcs for next year. So it's just the way it is, isn't it? Really.
yeah,
It means people get loads of things to add to their pre-order or anticipate.
Yeah. I'm excited to get my final copy. I did pre-order it like some time ago, so I'm excited because it's been definitely one of my favorites, and I was really shocked because I really enjoy Grady Hendrix, but I wouldn't say his books are my absolute favorite of all times.
No,
It's one of those authors that I would always return. Like I would read anything he writes. And this book really caught me off guard because it doesn't have any of the humor he normally has, and for some reason, it's been my favorite. So it's weird, but it's like
I
the most
ordered
Grady Hendrix is my favorite.
I think I ordered the Broken Binding special edition.
That looks
It's
pretty
just got all the spells, like different spells on it. I think that's the special edition I ordered.
Well, I'm excited for you.
Yeah, I think so. Because they're starting a horror subscription, Broken Binding, from next year. So I'll look into that because I'm very disappointed with Evernight.
Interesting. I'm on Evernight, but I haven't read anything that I've got from Evernight. But I do like the look of the editions more than the standard ones. But I haven't actually read any of the books yet.
I've read all of them, I think, except the one that came in October, which really annoyed me because although it's a book I'll probably read, I've got it on my Kindle to read. It's not horror. And
Some
it's
of them are
like,
leaning more dark academia.
which is lovely, and I love dark academia, but if you're going to do a horror subscription in October and you use something that's not horror, it's a bit annoying, you know. But the one that's coming in January, that's a good one.
Yeah, I figured it out, and I did want to read from this author. Kasia, do you get Evernight?
No, I did buy the Evernight edition of The Eyes Are the Best Part.
Great edition.
I got it secondhand, like, well, new, but like, from somebody else. And it's going to be the book that we're going to read for the book club in December. So I'm really excited to try it because I don't know exactly what to expect. I think it's one of those books that is going to be either a really good hit or a miss for me. But I could not resist to buy that edition because
it's fabulous. All the eyeballs.
But the thing with those boxes is that I have to pay a little bit more of shipping. And since Brexit happened, I have to pay customs on everything that I order.
Yeah.
It doesn't come from like a particular, like PR packages seem to come through fine, but when I get my Abominable book box, I always have to pay taxes on top. So apart from paying extra shipping for international, I pay also customs. So I cannot order too many boxes, and Abominable sends me 3 horror books every month. So it kind of compensates a little bit. And I feel like with Illumicray and all of these other boxes, if there's something that I really want, I always try to get it from someone else, even though it's always overpriced. But
I had Illumicrate for a year, and I've still got some of the books, but I never read any of them.
Yeah,
because they were all fantasy, and that's not my thing. I gave loads of them away, and I think I've got about 4 or 5 left, and I've only really kept them because the edges are so pretty. I mean, they just sit on my shelf looking pretty. I'm not going to read them. Abominable's my favourite. I had my October box yesterday. November box yesterday. We're in November, aren't we?
Yes.
And I'm not going to tell you what's in, Cash, because I don't want to spoil it for
No,
you.
I haven't received it yet.
But my second-hand book was a really a vintage Stephen King.
Yeah, I also got once a vintage Stephen King paperback, and
it's really like a massive, great big thing. It's I think it's one of the Dark Tower ones. It's massive, and so that's I'm pleased with that. But yeah.
Yeah, I used to try other boxes. I remember back when I started BookTube and I didn't read as much horror because I was following other booktubers. I used to get the Owl Crate as well, and I tried to read old books, but I realized it's just not my taste. So, and also a lot of the goodies that come with it, I never ended up using them or doing anything with them because it's all like fantasy or contemporary stuff. And I would not keep them for my collection or really use them because it's not books that I am a super huge fan of or anything. So I discovered for me the Abominable book box works because it's basically 3 books that are all horrors or thrillers, and you don't get too many like goodies. It's just teas and a bit of food and horror bookmarks, and it's all like more minimalistic and more like geared towards horror. So that box works well for me.
You only get like one horror thing, don't you? You get like one horror thing, so it's like a coaster or a picture
something
or a
small
pin.
that is not too,
and the rest of it is all consumables.
So
so it's it's the only one I never had the full Illumicrate box because I don't know what most of the things are for because I haven't read them. So, but if you love fantasy, I suspect it's wonderful. I
think my problem is that I do love fantasy, but not that I don't love mainstream fantasy, but I do think a lot of the things that I love in fantasy are not the ones that end up in book boxes. They're like Afrofuturism or just like a bit off the
More representation as well from
yeah. And so when it comes to the ones that they pick, it's often not actually what I would want. And I want to only tune in when it's one that I love, but you can't do it that way. So
yeah.
No,
like
no, it is very, yeah, it is very white, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's very, very, very white, very heteronormative, and it's kind of, and I like to see different. I like to see lots of different things. I want to
Mm.
see different people and different relationships, and do you know what
mm,
I mean? Just something a bit different than dragons all the time, and you know, strange men who are kind of psychotic. It's a bit weird. A
But
bit
you know what?
stalky, aren't they? They stalk
Yeah.
these people are kind of, madly in love with these men, and you'd run them off from them in real life, wouldn't you? You'd be like, no.
But those books is, I think, if you like the mainstream, like Olivia says, like fantasy, they might be for you, and you
Yeah,
might
yeah,
also use all the goodies and stuff. What I like about Abominable is that the three books you get is mostly new releases, so most people have not read those, and it
yeah.
might be interesting. They're also very varied. You can get cosmic horror, you can get thrillers, you can get, so it's very different. It's not
mm,
always the same type of horror.
Yeah.
And vintage paperbacks can be absolutely anything. Like I got last month one from Robin Cook, which is a little bit more medical horror kind of thriller stuff. So it's very varied. So I don't feel like
mm.
I'm getting the same thing every month. And sometimes I can explore things. And they also ship secondhand books in every box as well. So it's kind of like, keeping the cycle of books alive a little bit.
And they have
So
they choose unusual books. I
yeah.
think I've had Abominable for about nearly 3 years now, and I've only ever had, I think, 3 books that I already own.
That's
Mm,
really
Because
good.
they, yeah, so they kind of use authors
yeah.
that are not like the most popular authors. So
Mm,
they're giving a chance to people who you perhaps wouldn't normally read.
yeah.
So it's I like that. And they're really cute as well, the 2 guys in Wales, aren't they? They're very funny.
I only remember
Mm.
Owen, but yeah, because it's always the name on the emails. And I even convinced Gavin from Gavin Reads It All to get the Abominable. He gets the one only with the books, with the 3 books, because he
Yeah.
wanted to read more horrors and thrillers. And in one of his reading sprints, I convinced him to get the Abominable book box.
That was you.
That's me.
I usually follow Jam Creeps and Geeks
Yeah,
unboxings of them,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
Gavin started to do them too. I was like, oh,
Yes,
and I
because we were
saw that you
talking
also
about
do them.
boxes. Yeah, yeah, and I mentioned that I get that one because he wanted to read more horrors and thrillers, and I said there's 2 tiers. If you only want the books, you can also get that, and it's much cheaper. And he
You
also
get a
reads
commission,
pen.
love.
So
You should
yeah,
get commission.
yeah, no, but
Right.
yeah.
It's
Oh yeah,
it's a good box for us
I
because we
forgot
love
to tell
horror.
you. Yeah, I forgot to tell you what I did. So I was reading my book, Escape from Happy Dale, and it's actually very interesting because I had no idea. So the beginning of the book actually tells you how this book got published. It's an author that wrote a lot of horror and sci-fi in the 80s and 90s, and this guy was a really big fan of the author, and one day he was almost hired to write a screenplay for a movie, and in that job he found an unpublished book by that author that he loved, which is this book. So it's a trilogy. So he basically found the manuscripts of these books by the author that he loved that had never been published before until now. And I didn't know that. So like the beginning is kind of telling you how the book was published. And the book takes place in the 80s. It's basically a girl whose family was murdered by a serial killer, and she was the only survivor, so she's the final girl, and she decides that she's no longer be scared. She wants to fight back, so she spends the next couple of years of her life hunting down serial killers and killing them for revenge, and until she hears that the serial killer from her family is back, and she's now determined to get him too. So that's kind of how the book is pitched or kind of starts. And I really like the idea of being like, you know what, you killed my family, now I'm gonna try to save other victims from serial
Yeah.
killers and stuff. So it's quite interesting. And I love books that takes place in the 80s and 90s because sometimes technology is too convenient in horror. So I love the struggles of characters that have to fight in the 80s and the 90s without all the
And there was
advantages of the modern world, you know.
and
So
there was a lot of serial killers in the 80s, let's be
yeah,
honest.
yes,
It was a
like
dangerous time to be alive.
there's a lot of things that obviously also the even in the 60s it started, but like a lot of things that would not be possible now. And back in the day, people like serial killers killed hundreds of people and nobody knew. Like because also the police in the United States, they were not connected, so they didn't
Yeah,
know that the cases they had in different states in the United
it's the
States
same people.
was the
Yeah.
same modus operandi. They didn't know because they were not connected like they are now in the net. So it's all very, very intriguing. Yeah.
I do love it. I love it when they say, "Oh, I've got to make a phone call," and they go to a phone box, and you know what I mean. I like my friends. I was looking after my friend's kids the other day, and she's got three teenagers. God, she's having a hard time. But
Oh,
and on the wall outside we've got a Doctor Who phone,
like a cabin thing. Yeah.
and it's not connected to anything. It was something I bought Carl one year, and he had no idea how to use it because it's a rotary phone.
Oh.
He says, "Well, how do you use it?" And I went, "Well, you pick the screen. What, well, where do you press?" I said, "You don't press, you turn." And it never occurs to you, you know, as because I grew up with it, that people would they just don't use the technology now is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
My whole life is on my phone, and
Yeah.
and he was absolutely fascinated. He was playing with it for hours, and it was adorable because I just thought it never occurred to me that young people now would never have because why would they? They wouldn't need to.
Or a cassette tape or things
Yeah,
like that. You know, like what is
yeah,
that?
cassettes, and
VHS. You know.
it's very annoying for me. I had to buy everything on cassette and then on LP and then on disc
CD. Yeah.
and now on Blu-ray. Do you know what I mean? I've got like 5 copies of things. It's ridiculous.
All right. Let me see people in the comments. We have Melina here.
Hi, Melina.
It's good. You're good. You still have two more sprints.
Yes, I'm reading too. Yes, it's very good. I'm enjoying it.
Point horror
Point
girly.
Horror Family.
Yes. Oh, let me create selection computer and miss. They do have beautiful. That's the
They
thing.
are.
I feel like we are compelled to purchase pretty books.
Mm,
And it's very tempting because I see all of these fantasy books and I'm like, that looks so pretty. Maybe I'll like it. And then I have to remind myself that I'm not a fantasy girly.
yeah.
I
They're
just want to buy the
beautiful.
books. Yeah.
They are stunningly beautiful. They really
Yeah.
are. But
I saw
after a
Fairy.
while,
They did the Raven Cycle, which is one of my favorite
Yeah.
series of all time. But I was like, I'm not gonna get it because I'm not on the list. And also, when they went on resale, they were so expensive. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
and I'm still alive without them.
I bought the
Yes.
Becky Chambers collection from Lumicrate. That
Mm.
was the main reason I joined Lumicrate, by the way, because I wanted that. It's one of my favourite sci-fi fantasies of all time. Yeah, and so that's the only reason I joined Lumicrate was to get that.
Mm.
Mm,
But they are beautiful, and it's one of my favourite. And I didn't have the copies, so I had them all on my Kindle.
mm,
So I thought, oh, I can justify that, you know, but they are pretty.
I'm
yeah.
trying to get an education in Malice, the exclusive edition, but every time I see it, it's a little bit too expensive. I think they're asking around 80 euros, which is probably like 70 pounds for it, which is a little
Mm.
bit, it's a little bit much. So I'm trying to see what I can do, maybe selling some stuff and getting credit and then buying that because
Have I got that one?
yeah, it's been one of my favorite books this year as well. Um, but
Have
yeah,
I
this
got that one? Cash, because if I've
I
got
don't
it, you
know.
can have it.
No, it's yours. I'm not stealing.
I know, but I won't read it. So I'll have a look because if I've got it from a Lumicrate, I'll send it over to you.
Okay, I'll have to repay you.
No, because I haven't read any of the Lumicrate.
But maybe you like it. It's Sapphic Vampire. There's a little bit of smut in it, which I don't know if it's for you, but
No,
just warning you because I was not aware it's
no,
gonna be smutty, and then I'm like, oh, okay, okay.
No, I'll have a look, because if I've got it, you're welcome to it, darling. Because at the moment they're just sitting up there. They're just up there looking pretty.
It's my
I've
Christmas.
already given about 4 away.
Oh no.
Because in my head, the money's gone. You've already paid for it. It's gone, hasn't it? So it's just, I'm either going to give it to you or I'm going to give it to the charity. So
You can swap it, like if you know people that want to swap books with you or something like that. That's something you can do as well.
I'll just give stuff away. I'd much rather somebody had it who really wanted it. It's like with any book, if I've finished with it, I'm not going to read it again. Then I'm happy for somebody else to have it and make them happy.
Yeah, I've given away so many books. When I moved from Germany to the Netherlands, I gave away a lot of books, and I was like, probably somebody else will enjoy them more. And I don't have time to look for someone, so I just donated a lot of boxes of books. So
because they just sit there, don't they? Unless you're gonna, and there's more books than brick in my house. I've got 5,000 books in my house because I've been collecting. I'm an old person, and every now and then I'm just like, I'm never going to reread most of them. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's hard to get to part away from some books, but I'm getting better at unhauling a lot more throughout the year, so I don't feel like the books are taking over.
There's some I'd never part with, but there's some that's just, I just think I enjoyed them, but I'm not going to pick them up again. So, but that's half the fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hoarding books, what we love to do. Andres is also here. You also have 2 reading sprints to go. Ooh.
I do think you can keep on top of Afrofuturism if you are mostly reading traditionally published Afrofuturism, because they're very selective about what is traditionally published, even though they should publish more Afrofuturism. But I do think if you're going a bit deeper into more of the indie published stuff, there is quite a wealth out there you can dive into as well.
Indie publishers, indie publications now are really taking over a lot from the traditional, aren't they? Because their boundaries they can write more. They're just more open in their writing.
Yeah.
Because they haven't got the restrictions of trad publishing. So I found some
One of
fantastic
my
ones.
favorite authors is self-published. Is David Sodergren. I am always talking about him. I love him. And he's self-published. And I bought almost all his books now. I want to buy all of them, finish reading them, and then rank them. He has one coming in December, and I'm really excited. It's my Christmas present from him.
I'm gonna say most of my favourite books of this year will be indies.
Nice.
Do you know what I mean? I found a fantastic female writer this year at the book convention I did in August, called T.C. Parker. And nobody writes female rage like her. It's just incredible horror. It's not only incredible horror, it's also intellectually stimulating. You don't get that in horror a lot.
Not always.
It's absolutely brilliant. I can't recommend her enough, really.
I have to try it. I do know, I forgot her last name, that wrote Curse. You got me the book, Lee.
Oh, Lee Kenny.
Yeah, Lee Kenny. Yeah, she's
Love
also
her too. And MJ Mars, brilliant women in horror. Do you know what I mean? And indie horror is still mainly dominated by men. So it's lovely to see these women coming up and they write the most fantastic stories. I mean, really just grueling, brutal, rip your heart out kind of stories, do you know?
Yeah, I also like Stephanie Sparks. I always say she's also very underrated. She writes also very brutal horror. It's not for everybody, but I really like her books as well.
I downloaded that Mother's book you recommended.
Oh yeah. That's I forgot the author, Brian something, I think, or I don't remember. But that one is a book I would not recommend to anybody. It's only for Sharron, just saying. Everybody else, please
it
don't.
Sounds wonderful. So I'm looking forward to that.
It's one of the most deranged, violent books. It leaves you with such a sour taste in your mouth. Only Sharron can read that. I don't recommend otherwise. Proceed with caution. Oh, hello. Oh, thank you so much.
I did as well. It was lovely to see what you did outside of me seeing you. So it was
Yep.
lovely to see you going around, and it was just such fun. Yeah.
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 Yeah, we both have every night, don't we, Olivia? But yeah.
And I have to thank Olivia for the Batman Unmasked exhibition because I saw that she went with her sister, and that's why I found out about the exhibition. So I also went to the Batman
Oh,
Unmasked
It
because I
looks
saw
so
it on
much
your
fun.
Insta
Yeah.
that she went with her sister, and I'm like, oh, I have to go.
I really loved it. We had a great time.
Yeah, I loved it too. I was like, oh my god, everything. I was taking pictures of everything, and it probably took me longer than other people because everybody was like going faster, and I was just taking my time. Like
No, too much cool stuff to see in detail.
in museums, I'm the worst person to go with because I like to read everything, to look at everything. Like I could spend hours in a museum, and
Me too.
I went once to Berlin, and I went to one of the big museums, and I went like when they opened, and they were closing, and I was rushing through the last two rooms, like shit. Because I had like the audio, and I was sitting down, I was reading everything, and I was just like, I was by myself the whole day, and I was just enjoying the paintings. And they were like, "We're closing in 15 minutes." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" So I'm annoying to go to museums with, I think.
I love those audio commentary things, don't you? You know, when you go around a stately home and somebody explains to you. I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah. Let's see. Oh, and I don't
Aurora
know.
Dimitri.
Book writer, ethics, and publishes about 6 books each year. Wow.
I've
Some
never heard of her, Andreas.
often with
Aurora
problematic
Dimitri.
railway characters. Preach. Interesting.
Marvellous. I love finding new people.
I feel like most of my indie authors, I used to read a lot of indie romance, and the reason why I don't read a lot of indie romance anymore is because they're all becoming traditionally published. Like they all get picked up at the moment. That trend's really happening. So I feel like I need to rebuild my indie list because they don't stay indie. Like I was reading Alexis Hall before they were picked up, and Talia Hibbert before they were picked up traditionally.
And you're kind of happy for them, aren't you? You know, you're
I
happy they
am,
got
yeah.
that. But at the same time, it's kind of like, oh, everybody's going to know now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Out.
Aurora Dimitri, every single one of, I'm assuming that's the lady. I don't know. Aurora sounds female. They're all on KU.
Yeah, a lot of indies and a lot of like horror like that, which is convenient because I don't have Kindle Unlimited. But if I want to get things from my Kindle, if they are part of Kindle Unlimited, they are cheaper to buy as well. Sometimes
Yeah.
like 99 cents or whatever, so I just buy them. So yeah,
One of her books is called Serial Killers with Cookies.
nice.
That sounds fabulous.
My husband and I went to museum and looked at all the art, not realizing that neither of us was bothered and could have lives. That's so funny though. Oh, that's so cute though.
Oh.
That's lovely.
Didn't want to upset each other. That's so adorable.
Yeah.
Something my husband would have done.
Yeah. I mean, depending what it is, if it's something like Batman, I know I can go with my partner, but I think if I would go to a regular museum, I don't know if I want to put him through the misery of me spending 10 minutes in every single room or more.
I used to force him to take me to the bookshop every week, and he hated it because he hated reading. I lost my husband earlier in the year, Olivia, just so you were, very suddenly. But he used to, he still used to take me. That's what being married is about. Doing things you don't want to because your other half does.
Yeah, he just texts me when I go to the city in Rotterdam, and he's like, "Are you going to the bookstore?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Okay, I'll leave you here. I'll go get go walk around. I'll come pick you up."
You think he wouldn't ask you?
Yeah. Hey, but I'm getting him into reading, you guys. He started reading this year. He's very slow, but before he met me, he had never read a book in his life, and now he's finished 2 this year.
Did you like the Alien book you bought him? Did you like the Aliens book you bought him?
Yeah, he has read now one like Tomb Raider book because he likes this kind of franchises. So for him, it's easier to read that. So I'm trying to get him to read that first because he thought he was gonna be able to read bigger things, like Lord of the Rings and stuff. I'm like, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Scratch that. Go to the things that are easy.
Start gentle.
Beginner level.
With Tolkien, it's not gonna happen. You're gonna give up on me before you start.
I mean, I love Lord of the Rings, but it's not something you recommend to a new reader, is it?
Oh, this is true. I want to go to the one in Amsterdam. I've mentioned a couple of times that I want to go see it.
Is it a museum of torture equipment or a museum where they torture you?
No, I think it's equipment. And I've always been really
Right.
fascinated by all of the torture. I think I've seen a documentary and things like that. I've always been really fascinated by the methods they would come up with to torture people back in the day, like the bull, where they would basically boil you alive inside, like the Iron Maiden, like all of these things that they used to do is just horrible but fascinating. So
I've been to one, but I can't remember where it was. But I remember it was really sad also to go at the same time because it was the museum. Wherever I went, it was like in the prison or the place where it would actually be done. So it was interesting, but it was also quite emotional at the same time.
Because you're aware you're looking at something that's been used on an actual human being. First time used. And that's, it's fascinating at the same time. It's heartbreaking, isn't it? It's not therapy. What's not therapy? Oh, the museum. Museum, yeah.
Oh, American English. My husband was surprised by my love of castle dungeons and the no.
Especially with Olivia.
I remember when I was very young, I was very naive and not very smart. But the first time I went to the UK, I was fascinated by the cemeteries because where I come from in Spain, cemeteries they look more like apartment building, where you just put people like you stuck them on top of each other, not like the on the floor that looks like a garden kind of thing. And I was really fascinated. So when I went to England the first time, I remember taking pictures in cemeteries and feeling like it was the most beautiful place.
I used to spend my childhood walking through cemeteries. I used to lie on graves to read because it was quiet. Because I had a really busy house and it was so quiet. I'll back onto a graveyard now. So yes, taphophilia is called. Obsessions with cemeteries and graveyards. They're fascinating places.
Yeah, and they're very peaceful.
They
I
are.
only started going once my grandfather passed, which I was quite young, but when you go, you don't come across many people, and the people you do are just like lovely and they'll talk to you, but they're also doing their own thing and having their own reflective time. So I actually quite liked it.
And people are reverent. I think there's quite a reverence to people.
Yeah, like there's a lot of respect for the place.
Yeah, respect for the dead, as there should be, right? So it's kind of, they're very peaceful places. And they're fascinating. Some of the old gravestones, they're works of art.
Mausoleums. And that's what really fascinated me because here, like if you go to the cemetery here in my small town, you don't really there is no gardens or places to really sit down because it just looks like a library, it looks like shelves and people are in these little niches, we don't have the cemeteries that other countries have like Germany and I thought they were so beautiful and it looks so much nicer as a resting place, and to
next time you're in London, see if you can get a trip to Highgate. Highgate Cemetery is stunningly beautiful in London. And it's literally they're works of art, really. It's gorgeous.
Interesting. I don't know where we ended in cemeteries.
Yeah, we're in cemeteries now. Torture museums to cemeteries.
Not a good connection. We're getting to the dark side tonight, so I think we should go to the next reading sprint for 40 minutes. I think I'm still gonna read a bit more of this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna carry on.
Yeah, going to Tanariva Dew.
Ooh, that one is on my list.
I love that book.
I'm halfway.
The writing is just delicious, and it's heartbreaking and scary and horrible and horrific. And My
Mm.
favourite book by that lady actually is The Good House, which is a
Mm-hmm.
brilliant ghost story,
Mm.
but beautiful
Yeah.
story. Yeah,
I would also put this under Afrofuturism as well. Like
Oh,
really. Okay.
Afrofuturism is very, I think people often think of that as fantasy mostly
Yeah,
or sci-fi, but I think it's like I see it a lot as cross genre, and this
yeah.
is the cross genre between horror and supernatural. So I would still put this in
mm,
Afrofuturism, but more horror focused.
And it's a chunky book, but it doesn't feel like it when you're
Doesn't feel like
reading.
that at all.
It just flies through it, and you find yourself getting more and more furious and angry, and
mm,
you want people to get their just desserts at the end,
mm.
Yeah.
So it's but yeah, beautiful writing.
It's good to know because it's so chunky. I got it on audiobook thinking maybe it's my way to fly through it because it's so chunky. Like when you see the physical copy, it's like, oh my god.
It's big for a horror, I
So
think,
It
and
is.
yeah,
It goes
even
from
though I read Stephen King, so I shouldn't be complaining. But like, yeah,
I wonder who reads it and then who narrates it, because it'd be interesting to hear that, wouldn't it? Who narrates it? 'Cause
Mm,
yeah.
it's a
Autism
very
affected.
upsetting subject matter. It's very distressing.
yeah. I've
Have
been
you
reading
noticed?
it quite
Yeah.
slowly because even though I'm really enjoying it, sometimes I'm like, okay, now I need a break from this and I need to
Yeah, something else.
read my vampire romance book before I go to
Yeah,
sleep.
yeah. I get that completely.
I don't know if it says here.
But yeah, it just is yeah. Some of
Yeah.
the scenes are quite brutal.
And I think it's
Yeah.
always those horror novels. Like I love fun horror too, but those horror novels where you're like, yes, this probably happened to someone in some way or form. Is always quite horrifying in their own right.
I think she did base it on an actual school, didn't she?
Yeah.
It's actually based on some of that is actually reality, which is horrifying. Um, horrifying.
So the narrator is Johnny's Abbott Pratt, who also did Legend Born, apparently. Oh,
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 I love the narrator for Legend Born. Yeah, she was great.
this
so
might
it's
be
the
a good
same
reread.
one.
No idea.
Yeah, and she also did A Song of Salvation, Love Radio. Like it's all
Mm.
interesting.
Lots of black books.
Yeah, that's nice. Also, the Blonde Dies First, which I also have on my list to
That's on
listen
my
to.
shelf.
Yeah, I love the cover of that book. It's fantastic. So yeah, that's the narrator of the Reformatory. So I have it on my list because I have a BookBeat subscription. So I was thinking maybe that's gonna help me to read the chunky book, or
I
maybe I'll
don't.
do physical and audio together because I've never done it before, and I think that might be a good book to do that with because I feel like it would be if it's like a really immersive book and I have the audio and I have the physical, even if it's chunky, I think it's gonna be maybe a good experience. So maybe I'll try.
I'll struggle with Audible. I really struggle unless I do that. So read, but I have to put it on 3 times speed to read as fast as I'm reading. That's the only way I can do it. I can't listen to Audible just as a book because I just fall asleep. And I can't. I mean, it's lovely. It's very relaxing.
Sharron is too fast.
Yeah, just like oh, that's so. It's like listening to somebody's voice.
Okay, let's go to the next sprint because we're talking a lot, and
Oh,
we
and
need.
you're getting tired, aren't you, Angel? I'm sorry.
Oh no, I talk a lot today as well. I guess I'm too awake still from that 47-minute surgery nap. Okay, I'll see you back here all in 40. Good luck. Welcome back. Welcome. I was like so immersed in my book, I forgot the kitty. Forgot time was coming up. Okay, so Sharon, how did you do? I hope there were no more puking incidents on your side. Oh, I can hear you.
I've got 3 pages left.
Oh no! You
I
can't
was
mute
desperately
yourself.
trying to get towards the end of it. three pages.
I was thinking Sharon's probably finished because you're very, very quick.
3 pages. Very annoying.
You can mute yourself and finish, and then we could just talk for a little bit and you can come on. Just do it. Let me know how you did, Olivia.
Yeah, good. Read more of the Reformatory. Still heartbreaking, but really good, really good writing. I'm having a great time with it.
I'm really excited. I feel like it might hit the spot for me because it probably has a lot of grief in it as well, and a lot of interesting backstory that's going to be kind of emotional, but at the same time is has a lot of horror in it. So I think that might be a good book for me. I'm really excited. I think I've been putting it off because it's very chunky.
Yeah, big one.
Yeah, that's always like, I'm always scared. Is it going to put me on a reading slump? Am I only going to read one book that month? It's all of those thoughts when a book is so chunky. So,
But there's nothing wrong with just reading a book in a month. I know the
I
booktube
know.
mentality pushes against it, but
Yeah. You're like, my wrap up this month is one book. Welcome to my wrap up. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm like, if I only read one book, what am I going to talk about at the end of the month? But I think the audiobook is going to help me with that one. So that's going to be my strategy for that month. So I read a little bit more of my book and I'm really enjoying it. So it's going back a little bit to what happened to our main character, Parker, and how she ended up following serial killers and killing them. But we learn a little bit more about it. So basically, after her parents were murdered, this woman picked her up and is teaching her how to kill slashers. And she's teaching her the rules of how to kill them. Like, just stabbing them or shooting them is not going to work because, like in the movies, they always regenerate, they always come back. And so it's kind of like teaching her how to do it, how to find them, how to kill them. And is telling her that she comes from a lineage of women that have been killing slashers for generations and passing on the knowledge and stuff. So it's kind of fun, and I'm really enjoying it a lot more than I anticipated. I thought I was gonna have fun with it, but it's also a little bit self-aware. It's talking about the tropes and stuff. So I'm really having fun with this book. So far, really enjoying it, and I'm excited because if it's a trilogy, then I have 2 more to look forward to. But
I
yeah.
find decapitation is the best way to get rid of most people. You ain't coming back from that. Not even Michael Myers could come back from that.
And then
So
burying
I
them
don't know why they
separate.
just don't go to that straight away. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. Because most people think, oh, shooting it is the easiest
Yeah.
way because obviously you don't have to get too close,
Yeah.
but it never works with slashers, does it?
No. Take their head off. They ain't getting up from that.
No, that's true. Okay, so we have here a question. I think you read sci-fi. I'm not a huge
yes,
sci-fi reader,
he's
so
he's the one who coined the term Afrofuturism. Actually, I've
fantastic.
read 2 of his short stories. I've read more information on him for my dissertation, which was about Afrofuturism. But I've got his short story collection, Drift Glass, on my shelf waiting for me as well.
Ah.
Yeah, I haven't heard of him before.
I
He's
mean,
good. He's good.
yeah, sci-fi is like, for me, depends. Sometimes the stories. I think sci-fi works good for me if it's shorter books as well, and if they're not too dry on the sci-fi. So maybe I'll give it a shot.
I like sci-fi, but I do like it to be based in reality.
Hmm.
I don't like sci-fi with a fantasy edge. or a bit unrealistic. Really, I like it. I like it to be based in kind of a reality. If there was space travel, basically, rather than some kind of supernatural element.
Have either of you read The Martian by Andy Weir?
Yeah, I love Andy
I have
Weir.
it on my list. I still have not seen the movie because I want to read the book.
The book, actually, the movie's not bad.
I liked the film.
I thought it was a really good adaptation of that
I agree.
book.
Yeah,
agree.
I'm waiting. I'm like, everybody's like, "Have you seen the movie?" And I'm like, "I'm waiting. The book is right
I
there. I
wanted
have the
to.
hardcover. It's there. I have the hardcover of The Martian and
Project
It's
Hail
called Holy
Mary?
Mary. Yeah.
Love
I
that
have
too.
those two in
Yes.
hardcover and they're looking pretty on my shelves and I'm like, oh, I have to read them.
Mhm.
But the sci-fi always like I feel like it demands a lot more from me as a reader because I'm not used to it. I think if I would read it more often, it would become easier. But because I don't, when I pick it up, it demands more from my brain, I think,
Yeah.
because it's not used to that stimulation.
Mm,
Because it's very different when you read a sci-fi and the way your headspace needs to be than when you read a horror, a slasher, or a thriller. They are a little bit more easy to digest, depending on the author, of course, and the writing style, but
mm,
it has to be easier for my brain. And sci-fi depends if it gets too specific on the
science.
words, yeah, and the sci-fi, like in the technicality of things. Then I feel like I have to be very paying attention because if I don't understand where I am, how the machines work, the spaceship, or then I feel like I lose interest because I don't know what's going on. So I feel like I have to be a lot more like in it, present,
I've
awake.
just read this really good one. It was actually a book that was in the Abominable, but I bought it on Kindle, called Full Immersion,
Mm,
and it's about this woman who she has suicidal ideation and postnatal depression, and she signs herself up for this kind of weird therapy where basically they hook you into VR and AI.
mm. It's by
Absolutely
Gemma
brilliant.
Amor, isn't it?
Mm,
Gemma Moore, it's brilliant. Apart from that, it talks a lot about mental health, which is fantastic, and specifically female mental health
Mm,
mhm,
and postnatal depression. It also has a kind of a cosmic element to it. There's a bit of a cosmic element, but
mm,
it is completely compelling.
mm,
mm,
Um, Completely compelling to read. I've never read anything like it.
mm.
Okay, good.
I feel like my starter pack, my like sci-fi starter pack I recommend to people who don't read sci-fi includes The Martian for like character-driven readers
Yeah,
because I think that does it very well. I'd also say Red Rising because it's quite Hunger
great.
Games with a little bit
Yeah,
more science to it, so it's very actiony. And
yeah.
then also Murderbot because it's very short
Very short.
and very digestible
Yeah,
mm,
in terms of sci-fi elements to it.
mm.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe I should
I
try Red
always,
Rising.
I always refer people if they want an author. I always send them to Becky Chambers because she
Mhm,
writes very accessible science fiction, and
mhm.
they're also really good stories about found family. And so it has the human element to them. But
I actually haven't read Becky Chambers before. I've had the first one on my shelf for ages, and I feel like I'm going to love it because I love Found Family, but I just haven't got to it yet.
it's just the long way to a small planet, is it? The first one, and
Mm-hmm.
there's 4 books in that series, but each one has got a character from the previous one in the others, but they're standalone books, right? I mean, that series, I can pick that up at any point. It's like a complete comfort read.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
It's just so accessible, and so it's sad and happy and
mm.
dreadful and wonderful. It's just beautiful writing. She writes so beautifully.
I've had that one on my list also for ages. Like every time I see the cover, someone I'm like, yeah, I had to read that one. And I
Mm-hmm.
still have it.
Yeah. That's the set I had from Olivia. The only reason I joined Olivia was to get that set.
Oh, there's Amy. Ooh,
Oh,
Data
are you getting?
Signature by
You
Darcy
must be
Coe.
nearly finished by now, Amy, on that one, darling.
Such a good book. I can strongly recommend. It's a
I've
great,
moved. I've moved up my TBR on your 2 recommendations.
yeah. I've made so far 4 people buy the book, so I'm proud.
Who's
Great on
it
my
by?
Kindle.
Huh?
Who's
By
it by?
Darcy Coates.
Darcy Coates.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's like a murder mystery thriller in an isolated location. And people are being picked one by one, kind of like, and then there were none. Like,
Yeah.
probably one of the group of people is the killer, but you don't know who it is. And then the author keeps killing them one by one until, you figure out what's going on.
It's a
Mm.
very Christie device, isn't it? That kind of locked room mystery where there's this
Yeah.
close circle. And she did that so well.
Oh, I
But
love
it's
Agatha
like,
Christie.
So do
yeah,
I.
you
So
might
do
enjoy
I.
that one. It's quite gory, which is why I really loved it for being a
Mhm.
Darcy Coates book. And it's very winter, snow, isolation, snowstorm. Like, it's very good for the winter. So if somebody wants to pick it up for winter, it's great. Let's see. Just finished. Oh, Dead of Winter. See, I'm making a lot of people read that book this year. I'm very proud. It's my second Darcy Coates book, and now it's my favorite of the two because she makes more like haunted houses things, which I also really enjoy, but those don't tend to be my favorites. I like gothic for the atmosphere and the haunted houses. Like, I love the atmosphere, but I cannot deny that I love when books get a little bit more bloody. So I think that's why I like.
You really need to
Yeah,
read From Below by Darcy
I
Coates.
do. I
That's
do.
my favourite one by her. It's a deep sea horror,
Mm,
and it's absolutely fabulous. Same thing. She's hit and miss for me. Some of the haunting ones have been a bit of a miss,
mm.
but that was fantastic and still my favourite one of hers.
I find the books that are underwater or in really tight spaces work well for me because those are two things that I don't particularly
Yeah,
like.
neither do I. So yeah, so
It's like,
it just makes me uncomfortable, and I like
yeah,
that in a book. Yeah,
that's why I really enjoyed the Illuminous Dead, even though the horror was light, but it was kind of like in caves underwater and you feel very trapped.
yeah,
So that's why I really enjoyed that book. And I also really enjoyed Under the Surface by Diana Urban, which is in the Paris catacombs.
that was
Because
good.
it feels so claustrophobic, and I can totally be like, absolutely not. I'm not going down there. You can pay me all the money in the world. Like, absolutely not.
No,
Nope.
it's like when people climb mountains. The mountain's there for a reason. Go round it.
No, but
Remember, the mountain was there first. Go round. You know what I mean?
have
It
you
was
never
crazy
seen
to me.
the videos where the people jump into these tiny holes on the earth? Like, they just go in there. They don't know where they're gonna end. I'm like, that's like horrifying. Like, when I see that, it's like, absolutely not. It's like, that's the worst thing I can imagine ever. These people that willingly go into these holes to end up in another side of the mountain, or I'm like, what are you doing?
It's like a death wish, isn't it? It's like they don't care about their lives at all.
I mean,
They
I
just,
understand they want the thrill, is like doing like bungee jumping or whatever, but like when you go into those little holes underneath the earth, there is no security that anybody's going to be able to pull you out of there.
no, no, and
Like,
then
they can barely fit.
you die slowly because you basically just suffocate.
Yeah, one person
Uh,
did get stuck and they couldn't get him out. Uh,
Upside down, if I remember rightly. He was, but you're just like, what were you doing? Silly people.
see, horror, real life horror. That was what works for me. Things that I imagine can happen in actual life.
I think my biggest horror real life element is the icy landscape. I'm a summer person. I'm not about the cold. And films like that Everest film or the book Abandoned by Blake Crouch, where they have to kind of
Mhm.
survive
Ah, such a good
the
book.
snowstorm. It was very,
Yeah,
very good. I loved it, but I was
yeah,
petrified for those people. Absolutely petrified.
I don't
yeah.
think I would do very well in the cold either, to be
No,
honest.
no.
I'm happier in the cold.
Yeah. Yeah,
I,
but not like in an isolated cabin with no food, no way to call for help. I don't think
As long
I
as
would
I had
love
books, I'd be fine.
that. But no food, Sharon. You need food.
Do I have water?
Because in the Darcy Coates book, is that's the thing, that they get stranded and they end up in an abandoned hunting cabin, and they have barely any resources left for the whole group, so they
Apart from
cannot
each
call for
other,
help.
they could always eat each other.
Sharon,
There's always a way around it. You see, you got to think outside the box,
I
love.
don't know if they can make fire though. So are you gonna eat it raw?
Yeah,
oh,
if you're on your own. Chop your hand off. That'll keep you going for a couple of days.
Sure.
Something to gnaw on.
Oh, we're getting into platform tender as the flesh territory now.
Yeah.
Oh,
But you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, that's that was also one of my favorite books because I felt like it was very, how to say, not really, it was provocative in a way because it was commenting on things that happen in real life, and it is something that it is a utopia, but what if,
Yeah.
what would you do in that situation? Like, it's quite horrifying. It's something that could completely impossible.
It's so unique. It's so different to anything else you read at the time.
Yeah, I love
Other
that.
people have tried to play with it now, but it was just so different.
Yeah.
Such a
Yeah.
unique idea. I love that.
yeah.
I didn't like is it a woman who writes those books? Or is it? I
Yeah.
can't remember the
Yeah.
name. It is. Yeah.
I
I
think she's
didn't like.
Argentinian, I think.
Yeah, I didn't like the second one she wrote. It's a blackbird one.
The short stories, I didn't like those either.
Is it
I
Two
haven't read
Claws and a
them yet.
Blackbird or something? I didn't enjoy that at all.
Oh,
Yeah.
I actually can't remember the title. I DNF'd a short story collection.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah.
It wasn't that long, and I thought, no.
No.
Didn't you have Olivia the new one? Didn't you have an arc? Because I'm really excited for the new one. I think it's coming already in January as well.
Yeah, it's next year. It's called The Unworthy, and it's a novel, so not short stories.
Yeah.
I liked it more, but it's very you don't know what's going on, and you kind of have to piece it together over time. And I liked it, but also I wanted more answers by the end of it. So still didn't hit as much as Tender as the Flash, but it's much better than the short story collection.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very culty, religious cult dystopia vibes.
Oh, I love a cultic one.
Maybe you'd enjoy it more.
Yeah.
Maybe. No, I'm really excited for that one. I will try it. And I think the short horse collection, I have it, I think, on audio, so I might try. And if I don't like it, I can just turn it off.
I'll go to the Abominable Book Club, but yeah, I DNF'd it too. I didn't even feel like the same author.
Too bad.
It was very, and the stories were too short.
Yeah.
I love a short story, but too short.
No.
Do we know if it's the same translator though? Maybe that's the thing.
It's possible the translation's not as precise, maybe, but
because I've been meaning to pick up like the original copy of Tender as a Flesh, because obviously I can read it in Spanish, and I would like to read it in Spanish and see if my reading experience is different. But then I wonder if maybe she changed publishers or translators, and maybe that's why other things have not worked that well.
It's the same publisher. I'm not sure about translator, but do you know what? I'd be very curious if you read The Unworthy, which you can read already in Spanish.
True.
Because the reviews for that in Spanish are very good. And I think because I read it so early, there weren't any reviews in English yet. But so I'm looking forward to seeing what other people think.
Okay.
Be interesting to see the difference between in the original language, how it's how much they've had to change for the translations, you know. Be interesting to see them.
Yeah. Translations are really important, like and the quality and the, because it's not just about words, it's about the meaning, it's about things that have happened before that are going to happen after. Like somebody needs to really know what they're doing, especially for books.
And books are all about, they're not only words and story, but they're also vibes, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? So what it makes us feel, and that's really difficult to convey from the original language sometimes, I think. So when you find one that's done well, it's just like, okay.
I think I might try Spanish and see. I'll report back.
Be very curious.
Okay, we have one last sprint, guys, of 30 minutes. I think I'm going to stick to this book because I'm still quite awake and I'm enjoying it. So
Three pages.
You sure you don't want to change your book, Sharron?
I'll move on to the other one after that.
And I'm going to Vampire Romantasy to finish.
I love it.
It's light. No. Well, they're in the underworld, so it's not that light, but
yeah.
That's it. We're all set. It might need
Yeah,
a cup of tea in a minute.
I translate as well, but I do mostly just TV shows and movies, not books, because books take a lot of energy from
I mean,
someone. I don't have the time for that because I translate as a second job, so I wouldn't have the time. So I only do TV shows and movies, but translating a book is I respect so much the people that do it because it's such a hard job.
I
yeah.
finally figured out on Netflix how I can transfer to the original language, because I hate it when they overdub them in American.
Mhm.
It really annoys me. And I just thought I must be able to watch this with just subtitles if I'm having a problem with, I
Mm.
can understand French and Spanish. I can't speak it very well, but I can understand it enough to watch a film. And yeah, so I'm really pleased about that.
Yes. Okay, let's bring back the kitty. Last kitty scare of the night.
Oh, hello,
I'll,
Kitty.
I'll see you back here in 30.
See ya.
Bye.
Hello, welcome back from the last sprint. I was checking the Agustina Basterrica books, and I can get the new one on Amazon, but it's like 30 euros for a paperback, which is a bit crazy. Um, I am gonna go somewhere that there is a bookstore here in Spain, so I might try and ask and see if I can get it because I think it should be cheaper maybe here. See if I can get it.
I
But
think it's,
yeah,
were you looking at the English version?
no, the Spanish. Hold on.
Oh, the Spanish one is that expensive?
Yeah, this is the Spanish version, and on Amazon it's available already, but it's
Mm.
like 30 euros for the regular paperback, and I'm like, ouch,
Oh,
ow. So I'll see if I can find it here because I can see here it's around 18 euros in a Spanish like big bookstore, and I
mm.
might get one of those before I leave, so I might ask if they have a copy. Um, yeah, I think it's Amazon is just more expensive because it has to be imported, I guess. Um, they also have Tender is the Flesh in Spanish, and it's like 19 euros for a regular paperback, which is also a lot. So I'm guessing it's just because they have to import it. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think my best bet is try to get it here, if I can, somewhere.
You're
Um,
on mute, Sharon.
oh,
I didn't mute myself. How weird. Muted myself. Because
yeah.
you're in Spain, so hopefully you should be able to get it.
Yeah, I'm checking exactly the bookstore that I might hit before I leave, and it says it has few books left of that one. Maybe if I call tomorrow and I tell them I'll come pick it up, they can put it aside, maybe. Because 18 for a new paperback, it's fine. It's brand new release and stuff, but like 30 is like, ouch.
Yeah.
It's like a lot.
18 seems a lot of money for a paperback.
Yeah, it's still a lot, but it's a new release, so I guess. But 30 is like, oof, for a paperback,
That's,
like I
That is
even think about it
extortionate.
for a hardcover. Like,
Yeah,
uh,
but the prices are going up. I was
they are.
looking at, I really like model homes. So I want to get the US cover actually because I like the green.
oh
So I'm
yeah,
thinking of
pretty.
getting it while I'm in the Netherlands, and like it's 26 euros for the hardback. And I was like,
Hmm. Because did you know that they raised the taxes on books in the Netherlands?
yeah,
Yeah, so now they are more expensive, which is sucks because I try to support the bookstores in the Netherlands as much as I can, but they are making it almost impossible because the problem is if you compare the prices from Amazon and regular bookstores, the difference is so huge that
yeah,
every time I go to the city, I always buy something from the regular bookstore because I want to support them. But some of the prices are just wild. Like,
Crackers.
it's the Amazon strategy. Like,
yeah, it sucks.
And
You know?
even like in the UK, though, I think paperbacks have risen, haven't they? They've risen in
yeah,
price. They really have. Even on Amazon, you're
Mm,
paying £11 or £12 for a paperback, whereas a
mm,
couple of months ago it would have been £7 or £8. This seems to have just shot up all of a sudden. So I'm not surprised, really.
yeah.
That's why I
Like,
use my Kindle so much.
I remember I wanted to buy Incidents Around the House by Josh Malerman,
Just
and
Madeline,
I
yeah.
could not find it anywhere. And I was in Amsterdam one day, and I went to a bookstore, and they were asking like 36 euros for the hardcover, and I was like,
do you, do you know why that is though? It's because it's not out in the UK, so they're importing it from the
Can't get
US.
it here. You have to import it in.
yeah,
Yeah,
I had to
the
buy
UK
it
covers
through.
next year.
Where did I get it from? From the Netherlands, from bol.com. You probably know bol.com.
Yeah,
That's how I finally got it. I think I paid 27 or something, and I was like, you know what? Let's just do it because I really want to read the book. But 37, I was like,
mm, yeah,
It's a really good book.
yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm happy because I paid a lot for it. But it was like impossible to find. I'm like, come on, Josh Malerman is not that, you know, he's
It's
a
not a
little bit,
huge name, is
like,
he? No.
no, but it's also, I mean, he has Bird Box at least, it's not like an indie, like, I don't know. But
yeah,
yeah, like some prices are like wild. Like,
yeah.
Jesus.
I'm I'm waiting for it to come out in the UK. Sometimes when we have that discrepancy between the US and the UK, everybody's reading it like abroad, and I'm like, why are we so far behind?
Yeah.
It's unusual, isn't it, for it to be such a big gap? It's
Mm.
actually quite unusual, I think.
Like, also, Model Home is out in the US in October, but it's next year for the UK, and I'm just like, why is that?
That seems such a long time to wait.
Yeah, you don't, guys, you didn't have to translate it.
No, you didn't.
Like, sometimes you have to wait longer because obviously someone has to translate the published work, but
No, it's
it's
crackers. It's
crazy.
crackers.
Yeah. Like, as much as you want to support like small bookstores, sometimes the prices are just like, because I love to also just go to a bookstore and pick something that I've never heard of, but with the prices, I cannot afford that because I'm like, if I buy a new book for 18 euros and I don't like it, it's a lot of money.
You're not going to make your money back either, are you? So
Yeah, it's like
that's the
if they were
problem.
cheaper, I would probably buy more and be like, "Oh, I'll try this one," or because when they are cheaper, I always tend to buy more or make more risky decisions. Like, you know what? If this one is like £10, I'll take it and see if I like it. But when they're asking like double that, it's like, ooh, what if I don't like it? If it's a new author, or it's a bit of a disservice to the not so well known authors because a lot of people don't want to bet on them for the price and they go to the safe author that they
Yeah.
know they're going to enjoy when it comes to bookstores. And it sucks because then their catalog goes down to those popular authors.
Yeah.
And then the other authors don't get such good chance of being on their shelves. And it just, the whole thing sucks, basically.
I've got a lovely little independent bookshop where I live called Listener Jan,
Mm.
and but they don't have a very good horror selection. So when I know I'm going in, I order what I want.
Ah,
So I've got dentist on Friday, so I'll pop in and have a coffee afterwards, right? See the ladies. It's a mother and daughter who run it. They're lovely.
oh.
And so I've already ordered 3 books because I know I want them. And they'll get them in just for me, just so I can buy them from them.
Mm,
There's going to be nothing on the shelves that I want.
that's fair.
I
Because,
think
it's all popular authors for them, really.
I think it's why I end up secondhand shopping so much
Yeah.
lately, because as you said, then I'm more willing to take a chance
Mm.
on authors. And I think also with BookTube, you just see so many books. And some
Mhm.
of them I hear about, and I'm like, that sounds like it could be good, but maybe it's not good, but like it could be. And if I see it in the secondhand shop, then I'm like, okay, now I'm going to take a chance in it for £2 or £3. And I'm trying, not always succeeding, to like get a secondhand copy. And then if I like it, treat myself to a new one to also give me motivation to read it.
Mm.
I'm in Devon, so we don't have a lot of secondhand, and a lot of it is going to be like Mills and Boon and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I live in a place that's kind of it's got an elderly population, really. So the only books in like charity shops and stuff is stuff that I wouldn't read anyway.
Mm.
I got the
But I
lucky
keep
thing.
going in just in case somebody gets rid of a collection. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, do that because normally here also, well, in Rotterdam where I live, there is a secondhand bookstore that I love to go to. Their prices are not very cheap, but one time somebody had gotten rid of their vintage horror paperbacks because I found like 10 of them or 15 of them, and I was like, yes, yes, yes. Thank you. It's like somebody that has my taste decided to leave some books there. And they were not cheap, but it's books that you cannot find anywhere. So I always check secondhand bookstores as well. And I also take authors or books that I've seen people talk about because if I'm going to pay maybe €5 for it, I'm more willing to do that than pay 15, 20 euros for a book that I don't know if I'm going to enjoy. But I do think that books have become so expensive and we should be motivating people to read more and not making it harder for people to pick up books. But I also understand, publishing costs money, marketing costs money, the author needs to get paid, like cover designs. Like I understand everything gets more expensive. It's not just groceries, everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
everything's
it's,
insane.
like I know that a lot of people are involved in a book. It's not just somebody sat and wrote it and that's it,
Yeah.
but
And
still.
I do know from the articles that paper is the cost that's going up quite a lot because
Uh,
deforestation and all the tree burning. So I
mhm.
do think a lot of it is probably paper costs
Yeah,
skyrocketing.
that's
That's
fair.
why I buy so many books on Kindle now.
I'm
I
trying
only
to do that
really
too.
buy books on my shelves that I actually want to read.
A lot of things that I just want to try or that I think are going to be just okay, but I'm not going to want them in my collection. I try to get them through Kindle. So then, if I really love something and it surprises me, I can still get a physical copy. But I'm trying to do that more also to minimize the unhaul of books and
Yeah, yes,
so
I get that completely. I don't need any more books. Do you know what I mean? Physical books.
physical, yeah. So what did you read, Sharon? Because we haven't
I
spoken.
didn't because my sister texted me. My
Uh,
sister texted me just as we started saying, "Can I call her?" And I went, "Hang on, I've got 2 pages left." And then I rang her back. So she's got the dentist tomorrow, and she's got a mortal fear of the dentist.
oh, same,
And
yeah.
she's got an infected tooth.
Mm,
So she was having trouble sleeping because she's worried. So I
yeah,
said, I'll ring you tomorrow before you go and give you a little bit of a pep
yeah.
talk. It's my little sister. So
Understand. I hate the
yeah,
dentist so much. I hate
I
it.
don't so much, but she's really phobic. I mean, really, do you know what I
Mm,
mean? She's a bit of a wreck, really. Yeah.
I
So I
understand.
was doing that. And then I thought, I'm not going to read now. I'm just going to write a review for the book I've just read. So I did.
How did you go for you, Olivia?
It was good. I actually realized halfway through the sprint that I actually can't talk about this book because it's a Patreon exclusive, but it's good. It's the third book in a series,
Okay.
so I know exactly what I'm
Yeah,
going
okay. If
for.
it's in the middle of a series. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to try different type of vampire books next year. And I don't think I've ever really read romantasy before. I don't know if it's going to be for me, but I might try it. I
I
might.
do recommend, not just because it's books I work on, but the first one in this series, The Serpent and the Wings of Night, is very good. Like the writing quality is very good for romantasy, and it's
Yeah.
vampires, so it's gothic. It's kind of like Hunger Games with vampires
Oh,
vibe.
that's nice.
And I was skeptical of romantasy, and then I read this one, and I was like, maybe there are some good ones out there that I can.
Okay.
And you do like some romance stuff, don't
I
you,
do like
Kasia?
some romance, and
Yeah.
it's got some steamy scenes, but it's not actually as many of the romantasies
Mhm.
Yeah.
have. Like it actually has plot and character development as well. That's given an equal amount of thought and balance to the romance element.
Okay.
It's nice.
Okay, let's see. Melina has been. Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the Oxfam.
Yeah.
I have one on my street, and they know me by name because I donate. I
Oh,
donate a lot of
Savannah is here.
books. So they always take my donations, and I do a little browse.
That's nice. I did find one next to my hotel. That's the first one that I hit when I was in
Mm.
London. I was like an Oxfam. I'm gonna go in and see what they have. And I did buy a book, and it was funny because the book had two different prices. One was 1.99, and the other price was 2.99. And I gave him £3, and I'm like, it's good. He's like, which one do you want to pay?
Pick your
I gave
price.
him the £3, and I'm like, it's good. you know, it was fun. Ooh, that's a good question, Andreas. Good question. Is there anything you guys have in mind? Oh yeah, that one for me too, definitely. That's the second book
I
in the
so
series.
enjoyed the first one.
That's
And
Candy Cane Kills by
Candy
Brian.
Cane Kills by Brett Macaulay. I really, really want to read that one. Yeah, I think that's probably there's a few December ones. I'm really having to put this to one side because I so want to read it.
You're gonna read that in like one go because those are short.
Yeah, I just really enjoyed that last year. It was such a good take on slasher at Christmas, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that one. So definitely want to read that.
Any
I
that
don't
you
know.
want
There's
to
so
read?
many, isn't there?
Yeah, too many. Any that pops to your mind, Olivia?
Well, as soon as December hits, I switched to Christmas books as well, but more like middle grade and romance actually for me. And I've been a bit obsessed with this author called Sarah Simone this year,
A little bit. Oops.
a little bit. And she has a Christmas series that I
Oh.
made sure I did not read all year, so I finally get to read it because it will be December.
So I
The
should look
level
forward
of
to it.
constraints.
I've got Christmas with the Horrors, which is the one that came out last year,
Mm.
with short stories, and I've been looking forward to that all year as well.
Good
And
vacation.
but I love a middle grade. I love a middle grade book.
I love
Yeah.
the Christmasosaurus series so
Yeah.
much, and I've got the latest one to read. Very good.
Yeah, I've seen
I've
it on
not,
your
is it,
channel.
I haven't heard of that one. I might have to see if I can, because my bookshop that I've got in town, they've got a fantastic children's selection.
Mm,
Because it's just brilliant. So I might look that one up and see if I can find that one then.
yeah, it's got a wheelchair user main character as well, which I just really
I
like
love,
seeing with the
yeah,
Christmas theme. How
yeah.
about you?
Oh, that sounds fun.
I don't know. Like I did put on my December TBR pile Rotten Tommy by David Sodergren because I've always loved his books and I haven't read it yet, so I definitely want to read that one. And I have a couple of Christmas horror novellas because I want to do another week of just reading horror novellas and they're going to be Christmas themed. So I have a bunch of like horror novellas and short stories that are all around Christmas, but they're some of them are very gory, splatterpunk, others not so much, but I'm excited about that. But when it comes to Christmas, I also like to read some romance, so I'll probably pop in something there as well.
I've got a load of horror novellas as well. So I love those, especially the week before Christmas.
Mm, yes, all the blood stuff. Let's see. Oh yeah, the candy cane kills again.
I can't wait to read it. So looking forward to it.
So I tried to start Harvest Home by Thomas Tyron once and then I put it down and I thought maybe it's just not the time now. I have not unrolled it yet, but I just wonder if it's the writing style that it's not for me because it's an old book and it might just not be for me.
I read it years ago,
Yeah,
but I can't really remember anything about it. So I don't know what that tells you.
yeah.
I do tend to remember what I read, but I
And I
remember
do want to read
it was
Geek
all
Club.
right.
You thought
Yeah,
it was all right. Mm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Geek Love is a great book. I do like Catherine Dunn's writing.
Mm.
But yeah, Harvest Home, it was okay. I mean, I enjoyed it when I read it, but I couldn't tell you what it's about now.
Mm. I just started reading it and I was not getting into it. You know, when you're reading a book and you're like 20 pages in, you still don't know like anything about it, like you're not into it. And I was like, you know what, maybe now is not the time.
Just sometimes they just need to mature a bit, don't they? They're like cheeses books. You got to leave them on the shelf a bit, and
Yeah.
then at some point they become right and ripe, and then you
Mm-hmm.
can put them on your crackers and eat them.
That
So,
might be.
I mean, metaphorically speaking.
Sorry, Andreas. Sorry. Maybe it's just not for me, you know. We have very different
I
tastes.
enjoyed it, as I recall. I just don't really remember it, but it's been maybe a decade or so.
I know that Regina really loves it. If you know Regina from the Haunted Library, she really enjoys that book and I picked it up and maybe it was just not either the right like mental space for me to read that book. I was not maybe interested in that at the
Yeah,
time.
I think
Or
it just has to be right. Yeah.
if I give it another chance and I feel like it's still not for me, then I probably will unhaul it. But for now, I have kept it on my shelves to give it a second chance.
It is very Halloweeny though, very autumnal.
Yeah. Oh, look, Melina likes your comparison.
Well, I was going to use wine, but I thought I just fancy crackers. I fancy cheese and crackers, so that's what made me think of that. I'm not going to have it. It's far too late at night, but
Yeah, we're gonna call it a night because for me it's also 11:30 and I have to work tomorrow. I need to try to sleep to recover from my surgery still, so I should call it a night. But I would like to thank everybody that came to the chat, and I would like to thank my friends Sharon and Olivia Savannah for coming. In the description, you will find the links to all their social media, so make sure to go follow them everywhere to get more fantastic book recommendations. And if there's anything else you girls want to say?
Hasn't it been a fantastical Evilathon?
Yes.
I've only
For
got
me,
one book left.
yep, I have these two basically. Once I finish these two, I'm good. So I have this week. At least I'm in recovery, so I have time to read. So I should be able to finish them.
Just the Crotch Goblin to read, and then I'm done. So I'm really happy about that. I haven't watched the film. I don't
No
do
problem.
films. I've just
You don't
done
have
the books, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's been good fun. It's been good fun.
Thank
Oh,
you
thank
for
you.
hosting.
Thank you, Melina. Thanks for coming. So, thank you guys, everybody. I will see you next time, probably more reading sprints. Thank you, girls, for coming. Good night, everybody.
Night, night, everyone.